Hey everybody, in this video in the Linux fundamentals we're going to go over Firewalld and how that works. So a few releases back, Firewalld replaced IP tables as the firewall of choice in RHEL and Rocky and CentOS and all of these. So all these distributions that are based on RHEL. So Firewalld is pretty powerful and you can really get into it pretty deeply. So what we'll do is we'll just take a quick look at it, see what you can do, get to the point where you don't have to just shut it off because that's not really the best practice. And we want to leave it on and just allow whatever access we need from the people that need it. So let's take a look. So firewalld, we go sudo, I think we can just do firewall. Well, let's first look at service, system control, status, firewalld. Okay, so firewalld is enabled by default and set up by default. Now you could shut it down if you wanted to, if you don't need a firewall. But really, it's probably better just to go in here and configure it how you need. It's not hard. And even when I just really discovered in one of the previous videos is you can do it all from cockpit, and it looks like it's pretty graphical. So if that's what you want to do, and we can look at that at the end of this. So let's look firewall -cmd, so firewall command. And if we just type that, it will, doesn't show us anything. So let's look, firewall command. So it's for the firewalld daemon. Here are a bunch of different things. So, this is, wow, this is really like a lot of stuff in here. All right, so I'm just going to go over some basic commands. So firewall command, get default zone. Get default zone. Okay. So that's going to give you the default zone, and the default zone is public. So if we do, let me see if I can just do this. Firewall command, list all. And that's not going to let me do that. So this is why I've got a sudo to see this. Okay, so this shows me public. It says active because that's the default, the one default zone right now. And it's assigned to our interface right here, ENS 192, which is our 10.10.200.90 Ethernet interface. Target default, sources, services. So the services that are allowed right here are cockpit, DHCP6 client, and SSH. That's why we're able to SSH by default. There's nothing else really allowed here. So like if you wanted to do run a web server on here, it would be blocked, and you'd have to figure out how to allow that. It's not hard, but you'd have to be able to do that. So let's do a firewall command get active zones. And that's going to show us the active zone public because it has an interface assigned to it. So let's take a look at all of the zones right now that are set up by default. So here are all of the default zones: block, DMZ, drop, external, home, internal, nm shared, public, trusted, and work. And as you can see, public is the default that's assigned out of the box. And we can do a sudo firewall command --zone equals home list all. So this is the same command we did for public, but now we're going to list it for home. So home, you can see it allows a little bit more Samba client, MDNS, some other stuff in there. So you could reassign if you wanted to. You can change the interface and reassign it. If you're at home, you can assign it there. It gives it a little bit more access. But what we're going to do is we're just going to change the public at this point. So if you wanted to change that, you could do sudo firewall -command set default. This is how you would change set default zone equals home. Zone equals home. So that success, it says. So now we should be able to see what our default zone is. So if we go back up to our get default zone, see now we are home. We're going to change it back to public. Okay. I'm going to clear the screen. All right, so that's how to change the zone. So let's list the built-in services. So these are all of the built-in services. They're defined. So we have, if we look in here, we have Telnet. We have here's the ones I was looking for: HTTP, HTTPS. So these are all defined in XML files, and they're easy to add. So we can do sudo firewall command, tell it the zone, and then the service we want to add. So what we'll do is we'll add a service right now. Add service equals HTTP. And it says success. So now what we can do is we can go back and do a list all. So right here. So we add it to the public HTTP. So now if we go in here, you can see that HTTP has been added. Before it was just these three, now HTTP is there. Okay, so now if you restart it, you would lose that HTTP because we did not use the permanent keyword, which we'll now do. So if you add permanent to that, then it will save it. And I believe we have to do a reload. Okay, that should reload all of our listings, our HTTP. Okay, so another command we can do is sudo firewall command, look at the zone, equals public. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to list services permanent. And you can see right there, it's not adding because we didn't add it correctly. So I ran this list all command with permanent. That's not going to do anything. So what I want to do is I want to run this command with permanent. Now we have success. And now if I run list services permanent, HTTP is there. Okay, so that's the basics of adding a service. Let's say if we wanted to add something that's not up here, some port that we need to add, say just like port 5000 TCP. So for that, we do sudo firewall command zone equals public, add port equals 5000 slash TCP. And you see that was successful. So we didn't add permanent there, but what you can also run if you want to commit it is sudo firewall command runtime to permanent. And that will copy anything that's running that you haven't added as permanent. It will copy it into the permanent runtime, or runtime to permanent. It will save everything. Okay, so now if we let's do a list. See where we have list services, permanent. We want to do list all. All right, so now you can see we have, why are we missing HTTP? We have the port. Public. Target default. Firewall command zone public. Let me do a reload it. So why did that not work? So normally, let's try that again. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it. That's not what I want to paste. Okay, let's copy this. Okay, so public active services. So why is it not adding that service? Public, zone public. All right, let's see what's going on here. Let's try this again. Add service. Do I have a typo here? Zone public. Let me just try it like that. List all. Okay, there it saved it. Now let's copy it into the runtime to permanent. And let's do a list all. Can I do a permanent? There we go. I think, okay, so now it took it. I don't know why that didn't take it at first. Okay. So now we've added the port. Let's add some UDP ports too, just to show you how to do this for a range. Zone public. Permanent. Add dash port equals 4995 to 5010 UDP ports. So we're going to add these UDP ports. And let's do a list ports. We can run that too. List ports. Zone public. And there are the ports. So let's do a sudo firewall command reload. And now when we list ports, now it's live. You can see that. So you do have to do a reload to bring it up. If you copy a permanent one to bring it into the running, you've got to do a reload command. Okay, so that is the basics. Now, let's say you want to be a little bit more granular. That's where rich firewall rules come into play. So what we can do is we can do sudo firewall command permanent zone equals public list rich rules. Okay, so we don't have any right now. So what we'll do is we'll add one. Now, for this is something I would do if we're trying to lock down, say, SSH or something like that to only certain IP addresses. Right now, the firewall allows it from any IP address. It allows the SSH service just in general. We may not want that. That may be too open, and we only want it from administrative desktops, workstations. We don't want it coming from anywhere, from any user on our network. So this is where a rich rule would come in. So add rich rule, and then we put it in single quote, rule family equals IPv4. And you can find examples of this on the internet. Just Google it. Source address equals 10.10.200.0/24. So we're going to limit this to only our subnet. So let's say that's where our administrators are on that subnet. So then we can do this. And service name equals SSH. And then whether we want to drop it or accept it. And there it is. Let's see, that looks like that worked. So let's take a look. So now we want to copy, let's do a list all. Okay, there you see our rich rule down there at the bottom. So now we want to, let's go from running, see where that command is, runtime to permanent. So now there we see the rule family. And that is how you do a rich rule. So rich rules, you can do quite a bit. You can do logging. You can also limit the amount of logs that you're getting. So if you're being attacked, you can limit that. So there's quite a few things you can do with rich rules, and you can get very granular with ports and whether you accept, deny. You can also, with rich rules, you're able to NAT using them and forward it to another port. So it's very powerful. Firewalld is very powerful. So let's quickly finish this video up. We're going to take a look at the cockpit. So let's go in there, see what we're on. So, okay, it looks like we still have it open. Let's see what we have. When we go to, let's see, where was the firewall? Networking, there, firewall. And you go to edit rules. And here we can see HTTP has been added. Additional ports, 5000 and 4995 to 5010. Now, I don't see the rich rule listed in here. So I'm not sure if you could use this for rich rules. I'd have to look more into that, but right now I'm not seeing it. Nice thing about this is, it's a graphical thing. You can easily add a new zone, add services, and put them in here. Say we wanted to add a service. We want to allow collect D. Let's see, we'll add that there. And it's UDP, so it's now allowed in. This rule allows incoming collect D from remote boxes. So this is how you would do it in here, and you can easily delete rules. And the default for the firewall is that incoming requests are blocked, outgoing requests are allowed. They are allowed. So that is Firewall D. I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you.